So you've heard that the polls are rigged. Well, honestly, I feel like a lot of people just don't know how to read polls, and that's really the problem. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's definitely polls that are biased and rigged and all that good stuff, but some of them are pretty reliable. We just don't know how to read them. And that's where I come in. So I'm doing like this little mini series about the polls and how to read them. So let's take a look at a few that came out recently. Okay, so this is the Emerson College poll. It just came out today, September 5th. And keep in mind that it is a national poll, not a state poll. And there is a big difference here. I'll get into that in a minute. So it has Harris at 49%, Trump at 47%. And here's their little chart that shows, how it changed over the last couple months. But here's the thing about a national poll. We do not elect a president on the popular vote. We elect a president on the Electoral College. So a national poll is not accounting for that. So technically what you should do is go state by state. Usually they only poll swing states anyway. You actually have to tally up how much electoral points that state has. But that's kind of a side note. Let's get into what I really want to talk to you about. So on every poll, there's going to be a methodology section. And if there's not, you need to run away from it and not read that poll. They should tell you exactly how they came up with their numbers. So this one says that they polled people between September 3rd and 4th, and that the sample is of 1,000 likely voters. Now keep in mind, this is a national poll and only 1,000 people were sampled. Typically, that's the number of people that they poll in one state alone. So yeah, very, very small sample. But this is what I want you to look for in every single poll. It's called margin of error, MOE. And for this one, it's plus or minus 3%. So what we're going to do with that is we're going to go back to the original numbers. So you have Harris 49%, Trump 47, right? Well, I made this little graphic so we can visualize this. Okay, so Trump, red line, Harris is the blue line. So here's what the margin of error is. We can't possibly poll every single person right now that's going to vote on November 5th. So what they do is they pick a sample size that should represent the population. But of course, when you do that, you're going to have a level of error. And that's what it's called. It's called margin of error. So moral of the story, what you do is since Trump is at 47%, the margin of error was plus or minus 3%. So that means if we were to actually poll the whole population, it could be anywhere in this range. So minus 3 points or plus 3 points. And same thing for Harris. So she's at 49%. So it's really saying that she could be as low as 46% or as high as 52%. So you might look at the polls today and say, hey, Harris is in the lead. But actually, it really could be Trump at 50% and she's at 46%. We don't know. So it's not necessarily that the polls are rigged. It's just that a lot of people don't understand how to read them. You can't just take the numbers at face value. You have to account for that margin of error. And if you cannot find the margin of error in a poll, you need to run away. So let's look at one more poll. This poll shows that Harris is at 48% and Trump is at 45%, with almost a 3% margin of error. So really, Harris could be anywhere from 51% down to 45%. And Trump could be anywhere from 48% down to 42%. So again, we really don't know. Looking at the polling recently, it just looks like they're about a tie. But again, we also need to account for the Electoral College. I know that was a lot of information, but I hope it helped. It's so important, even if you need to watch it again to really consume it. If you have any questions, please let me know. And as always, let me know your thoughts and make sure you're following me for more.